I just got back from the National Catholic Youth Conference, NCYC. We here in the Diocese of Gary, we took 250 young people, high schoolers, down to Lucas Oil Stadium to Indianapolis, where we joined over 16,000 high schoolers as we had a couple days of adoration, of Mass, of learning more about our faith. We got to do a Zoom call with the Pope. It was just this amazing experience. Well, one of my buddies, he's a priest of the Archdiocese of Louisville, he got an all-access pass. He was helping out behind the stage with some of the speakers and everything else. And one of the speakers on Friday night was Sister Miriam James. And I've met her before. I've seen some of her talks. She is amazing and just such a beautiful soul. And I wanted to meet her. I wanted to say hi to her. So I texted my buddy. I'm like, hey, can you get us down onto the field of Lucas Oil? And so we met him down there, me and a couple other guys. We went down there, we were able to get down there, and I was really wanting to meet Sister. I think at the center of it, sometimes all we have to do is ask, right? Like sometimes in life, all we need to do is ask. And this weekend, as we celebrate the feast of Christ the King, I think that's really what we're getting to. We have this story of the two thieves on either side of Jesus. And as we celebrate this feast of Christ the King, we are reminded that Jesus is King, that Christ is King of the universe. It's not the person sitting in the White House. It's not the governor. It's not any politician. No, none of them are king. Jesus is the King of our lives. It's not the richest people, the billionaires and almost the trillionaires that are coming in our world. None of them are the king. It's not even you or me. And let's be honest, sometimes we act as if we are the king. Sometimes I think the universe revolves around me. And this feast of Christ the King, we're reminded, no, Jesus is king. And then the reading, the gospel we hear today shows us what kind of king he is. He's a king of great mercy. So the gospel is Jesus dying on the cross, which doesn't make sense. We're holding up Jesus as king and we're reading about him being killed. But we go further. So it's after the passion. It's after he's been whipped to just inches of his life. It's after he's been then a crown put on his head. He is then the cross put on his shoulders and he's marched through Jerusalem. He is nailed to the cross and he is up on the cross. And we hear that the crowd is jeering at him, saying, if you are a king, just come down off the cross. What are you doing? And on one side, the other thief joins in. There's nothing like peer pressure, right? He's dying on the cross, but he decides he wants to join in on the fun of making fun of Jesus. But then the other thief, the one who's done the same thing as the other thief, the two of them have been thieves. He asks the question, Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. Sometimes all we need to do is ask. And Jesus says, today you will be with me in paradise. As I said, sometimes all we need to do is ask. My buddy, after asking, got us down onto the floor right next to the main stage in Lucas Oil Stadium, in the NFL stadium. And the curtains were there to go backstage. And I just kind of, hey, I'm gonna go back there because I really want to see if Sister's back there. And as I'm walking back behind the curtains, Sister Miriam's walking out. And it was just this moment of perfect, I was just like, Sister, I got to meet her. I was so excited. Took a selfie with her and just said I was praying for her. And she looked at me and said, she's praying for me as well. It's just this moment that came about because of asking. This week is the week of Thanksgiving. And I want to invite you to live out your faith boldly. As Jesus did on the cross, as a good thief did really on the cross, asking Jesus to remember him, I want to invite you to live your life boldly. Because as we gather our family and friends together, the people that we love the most, but sometimes are the most difficult to love. And oftentimes those fights come about because we're talking about the three taboo topics of money, politics, and faith. And I want to give us some ways in which we could talk about faith well. Because it's not a matter of not talking about our faith, but rather we need to talk about our faith well with those who maybe don't believe the same things we believe, or fallen away from the belief that, with your children that they grew up with, or maybe you yourself are struggling with as well. And so the three ways that I want us to do it this Thanksgiving is, first is I want you to pray before you eat, to say grace. And if they're at your house, for you to lead that, for you to say, let's take a moment and give thanks to God for this. You're not pushing it on anybody. You're just inviting them to bow their heads and you leading a simple grace. So for us to live our faith boldly, this Thanksgiving is to say grace. The second is to share your story. And what I mean by that is maybe when you get a chance, I don't know what your Thanksgiving is like. Maybe you go around the table and say what you're thankful for. Don't leave Jesus, don't leave God on the doorstep after you've invited everybody in. So when you're telling your story about what you're thankful for to your family, to your friends, and maybe people who don't believe the same thing, don't leave out Jesus. Make sure you give him the credit that he deserves. That, yeah, I'm thankful for these things, and my faith really helped me through maybe a difficult moment. You're not pushing it on anybody, but you're giving thanks and you're showing people your faith. You're witnessing that faith. So the first is to say grace, to give praise to God, to be bold, to step into that. The second is when you're sharing, what you're thankful for, don't leave Jesus on the doorstep after you invited your family in, but allow him in as well. You're not pushing it on them, but you're just sharing, this is what's happened to me this past year. And the third I want to tell you by telling a story. About 4 years ago, I was invited over to a friend's house, and it was going to be a guys' night. He invited a bunch of guys over, and we were going to hang out, and we were sitting downstairs, and he invited a friend over. I didn't know him, this guy. I was sitting next to him. We were just talking, and I came to find out that he went to Catholic grade school and high school and fell away from practicing the faith. He kind of turned his back on it in college and hasn't really been back, and it's been over 20 years. And that's a story that so many of us have heard either in our own experience or maybe our children or our friends or relatives. We all know those people. And we were together for a couple of hours, and we were just talking and sharing life. And as we were leaving, I looked at him and said, I want to just invite you to join us this weekend at Mass. To come. This is the Mass I'm gonna be celebrating. I want to invite you to come. A couple days later was Sunday, and he came up to me right before Mass and said, hey, I came. I was like, oh, so excited. Hey, great. Stay after Mass for a couple minutes. Let's just talk. And after Mass, we just hung out for a little bit. And that was 4 years ago. Since then, he has not missed a single Sunday. He's actually been going to daily Mass oftentimes. He has his own 3 kids he put into Catholic school, and he's been praying the rosary with his family. He's living his faith, his life boldly with Jesus. And it all came from a single ask. And it's not because I'm a priest. It's because I took some time to form a relationship, to just get to know each other, and then invite him. And I want you to do the same this Thanksgiving. The temptation is this coming Sunday, next Sunday, is that you're not going to go to Mass if your family is in your house, you're hosting them, and if they don't go to church. And the excuse you're going to tell yourself is, well, I don't want to inconvenience them. And I'm going to just be bold and say, don't do that. Rather, invite them to join you. Don't you skip because of that, but rather you invite them, hey, I'm going to Mass, come join me this coming Sunday. And you know what? If they don't, if they can't figure out something to do for an hour and a half, that's their problem, not yours. Just saying. But I want you to invite them to join you. This is how we live our faith boldly. So the first is to make sure you say grace before you sit down for the meal. The second is when you're sharing, the things you've been thankful for, don't leave Jesus on the doorstep after you've invited your family in. And the third is to invite then your family, your friends, those people whom you love and are in your house to just join you. And just leave the invitation out there. You're not pushing them, you're inviting them. Who knows, it might change that person's life forever. The power of just asking, the power of inviting. Live our life boldly for Jesus on this Christ the King Sunday and this week of Thanksgiving.